Hey y'all, I'm Ellen. We've been super inspired by our journeys of self-healing and discovery.
And I'm Sam, and we want to share our experiences with you to help you get curious about yourself, reconnect, and get intentional about your life so you know what makes you happy.
Welcome to Woo New, the podcast.
So I have been looking forward to this interview for a while. Today we are here with Jamie Harb, who is a holistic healer with a background in osteopathic bodywork, physical therapy. She's an intuitive energy therapist, and she also works with herbs. And so when Jamie and I met, it was sort of like one of those divine connections. It was like the universe had planted us in each other's paths, which was so much fun because I think it was like back in June maybe. And I had gone in to see you, Jamie, for a massage. And then in the middle of the massage, we started talking about Reiki. Oh, and Jamie's also a Reiki Master, and she teaches Reiki students as well. So that was what sort of kickstarted this whole conversation around energy work. And then the more we started talking, we got into the Schumann resonance, and then we started talking about star families and star beings, and I was like, I never get to talk to anybody about this. This is so much fun. So we are really excited today to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. And we just can't wait to talk about all the things, because I just could geek out on this stuff all day, every day, as you know.
Yes. Well, thank you for inviting me. And yeah, that moment was a true geek out moment. We're like, wait, what about this? Do you know about this? Oh, you know about this? Yeah. You know about this? Oh my God, wait, I can talk to you about this? You don't think I'm crazy? No, you don't. Wait, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's like, Ellen and I talk about this stuff a lot, but it's very rare to come across someone that you just meet out of the blue like that. And then you can actually just get into these conversations without any of the other bullshit.
I mean, my best friend calls it the woo woo, and I'll say something, she's like, not the hoo boo 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 stuff, Jamie. Like, no. Get out of your hoo boo 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 world right now. Let's talk about real things. And I'm like, but those are real things.
Yeah, these are all real things. Don't you understand? So I think actually I think one of the coolest things when I realized that we sort of had this in common, and when we started talking, was that you have such a diverse background in so many different modalities of sort of energy work and holistic healing. And so maybe we can just sort of start with your story and how you started working with energy and how it brought you to all these different modalities.
Yeah, for sure. So it started, I want to say maybe about 10 years ago, maybe a little longer. I had a lot of really crazy trauma, and a bunch of my really close family members have passed away in a very short amount of time. And so, of course, when things like that happen, you kind of get a little, off kilter. So I was definitely in a weird place. And I was living in New York City at the time. And I had a friend who was just like, you should try this Reiki stuff. And I was like, huh? What is this? And then I looked it up, and it was super expensive. And I was like, so I'm going to go pay a bunch of money for someone to not touch me?
That's kind of how I felt at the beginning
any
too. I was
sense. I don't know how I feel about it. And I was super skeptical. And so finally I was like, whatever, I'll try anything. So I went and I had an energy session that was half energy, half massage, because I wasn't fully committed. Right. So I literally felt like I was walking down the street on a cloud. I was dancing. I was in a great mood. I was like, what just happened? And then I got a book about Reiki that my friend gave me, and I think it was Diane Stein's Essential Reiki. And it was it's kind of a dry, very clear cut, this is Reiki. I'm sobbing in the introduction, just wow, crying my eyes out. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing, because obviously there is some kind of a deeper connection with this modality. And so then I just instantly started looking for an energy teacher. At that point in time, I had moved back to Michigan. And so I found an energy Reiki teacher in Michigan and started studying with her. And it kind of just went from there. My best friend lives here in California. She's been here for a really long time, about 15 years. And she's been trying to get me to move here forever. And so finally she was just like, hey, you should totally move to California. And I was like, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. I'm going to become a massage therapist. This is I'm 31 years old. I decided to just completely change my whole life around. I was a bartender in New York City. I ran catering companies. I was very food service oriented. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go relax for a living. So I moved here and went to school at 31 and got my holistic health practitionership at a place called Healing Hands in Escondido. And with that, I did like 1,000 hours, and I was really focused more on like structural integration and rolfing and more about structural alignment and the osteopathic side of things. And I mentored with a guy named Ken Smith, who he's in North Carolina now, but he's basically an osteopathic manipulator. And so he taught me a lot of really cool things. And it just kind of helped open my eyes that, like we don't have to be living in dysfunction all the time. We can do some very simple things like body work to help, be in a better place mentally, physically, and, emotionally, which is huge because, he kind of like really taught me about how your bodies can hold emotions and how your muscle systems can hold emotion. And so that's kind of where it started with the body work. And then I'm just kind of one of those people that's always trying to learn more because, I have people who come in with chronic pain, yet they go to the doctors and there's nothing actually wrong with them. And so it's like, okay, what else could it be? Right. And so I started taking classes in cranial sacral, which is working with cerebral spinal fluid flow and like the energy of how your cerebral spinal fluid moves through your body. And then that goes into somato-emotional release and how emotions are tied into that and into your body. And then from there, I kind of went into visceral manipulation, which is organ massage, but it's very, very energetic because you're feeling the energy of the organs. Because when I started doing energy work, I kind of started noticing like frequencies of different things. And so I would tap into organs and I started doing frequency healing. It just kind of became a natural thing as I was doing energy healings. And so I was like, I want to know more about this. So that's why I started taking the visceral classes. And now I'm like, really knowledgeable about where the organ is, how it's supposed to move energetically versus how I thought it was supposed to move energetically. So now like my energy work is kind of morphed into this really cool like mixture of cranial, sacral, and organ energies, as well as like your human energy system energies. And so I've been doing a lot of like, I call them intuitive energy healings because it's not really just Reiki. Sometimes it's a mix of, frequency and cranial and shamanic healing, and sometimes it can go into past lives, or I'll use sound bowls or tuning forks, basically just depending on whatever your body needs. So I kind of just try to keep learning as much as possible because it's not just one option that's the answer. I find that there's lots of different things that can kind of like be a part of what is causing the chaos in your body. And most of the time it starts on an energetic level.
Wow. I have so many questions about this organ energy.
That was a lot.
No, it's so rad because, oh God, I feel like, it's totally divine. All of this is divine. Your whole pathway, is divine. And, I'm so sorry to hear about like that you experienced so much loss in your life, but I have found in my own life too, like I lost my dad when I was 15. And, it's a grief that had shaped my life or has shaped my life, but it's also been the doorway into healing for me. And had that not happened, I would not be doing what I'm doing today for sure. Yeah, I know that
100%.
Right. It's like you needed almost that energetic push, as devastating and like difficult as it was, it's like, that was the push that you needed. But yeah, can we go back to organ frequency healing? Because
I have to tell a funny story because I feel like so the amazing thing about meeting Jamie has been honestly like we just trade sessions on each other now, and it's so cool because every time I work with her or she works on me, I feel like I learned so much. And like, I feel like the last 2 or 3 sessions that you did on me, you were like, what is going on with your gallbladder? It's like, it's like so crazy because I can feel it when you connect in with it. And it's really rad that you know exactly what you're looking at, like what's going on, and that you can like tune in with that specific organ. But also it's like on the receiving end, it's like I can feel it and I know that something's been off. And then you just go in and it's like it just magically like unzips and clears out. And it's like the coolest thing.
Wow.
It's not magic. It's quantum physics, but yes.
So when you're experiencing energy, because I'm imagining that like I mean, I think everybody's different, but like on a general level, like I feel like when you're doing sort of Reiki healing, you're moving energy through the body, but you're not zeroing in specifically into like different organs. So I'm just curious, like, can you almost like break down or explain what it is that you experience on the healing side when you are working with somebody on, on a particular organ, or, you're zeroing in on that energy?
So it's kind of hard to explain. So you know how, well, when I massage, like at first you kind of like start massaging the body and you feel like, okay, here's a muscle. After you practice for a long time, you're like, oh, here's a tendon, here's a ligament, here is a vein. I can feel if I push on this, it releases this way, right? And so then as I was trained, I started getting trained in smaller feelings and smaller movements, right? So with the cranial rhythm, everything's the weight of a nickel and it moves super, super small. And it's a very minute movement, but we're trained to feel them with our hands, right? And the same thing happens with visceral. The visceral movements are so much smaller. So it's basically just been a training of working with my hands and feeling more sensitive things. So it's so when you do Reiki, I don't know if I believe you're a Reiki master or you do Reiki yourself as well.
I've been trained. I've been Reiki too,
okay.
But I'm currently in an apprenticeship. Yeah.
Okay. So you know how like when you start practicing energy work, your hands kind of turn on and they get hot and sometimes they feel different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed that as I start working, I've kind of created a dictionary almost for myself. And I tell my students that they should do this too. So pay attention to how your hands feel. So if you're over like say the heart chakra and your hands all of a sudden get 100 degrees, right? Then you talk to your client, you find out they have some really emotional stuff going on. And then the next time the same thing happens. And every time your hands get super hot, you know, it's an emotional thing, right? So then you're like, oh, that's my tell. So if my hands go from 0 to 100, there's something emotionally connected to this, right? Or if I feel like my hands are falling asleep, but they're not really asleep, it's scar tissue. Or
that's a good way of describing that feeling.
Yeah. So you start to like learn what the quality of the energy is with the way it feels in your hands. And so when I'm doing energy healings, I really don't like set up any kind of like plan because it just doesn't work ever. Mm-hmm. I'm usually just open to facilitate whatever the person in front of me's body and energy needs in the moment that I'm able to facilitate, that I'm knowledgeable about. I open up and say, I'm ready to help her do whatever it is she needs to facilitate and move around. And so I may be sitting on your heart chakra, working on like a vortice, you're doing something. And then all of a sudden I feel drawn to like your lower left quadrant. And I'll kind of put my hand down there. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, small intestine, or oh, ovary, or like, it's almost like someone kind of like yells at me, or just, I get like a sense of it. And then I can kind of feel the energy and how it's not ideal. Right. And so then I kind of just work with it to kind of match the frequency of the organ in order to kind of get it to resonate the same, almost like you would with a tuning fork, but I do it with intention.
Wow. That's rad. Okay. So is this what so Sam, like, I know you use the term medical intuitive. Is this what you would consider medical intuitive work?
I would say it's in that realm. Yeah. I have a hard time with like saying titles of things, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really like telling people like, I'm a Reiki master. And like, it's like, because I feel like we're all intuitive energy healers. And if you want to put a label on yourself, go for it. But I feel like part of what I do is that, but then there's times that I don't do any of that. And it's literally, we just did Reiki for, an hour. So it kind of really just depends on the situation. But sorry, there's a garbage truck going by. So maybe a little bit
no worries.
But yeah, I feel like it's kind of like touching into that realm a little bit.
Okay. Can you guys explain, because this is new territory for me, like what is medical intuitive work and how is it different than what you just described with the organ energy work?
From what I know, because I've read a lot of stuff about medical intuits, a lot of medical intuits are like almost mediums and channelers in a sense that when they contact your energy field and your body, they see all of the stuff that's wrong with you medically. So each of your layers of your aura hold different pieces of your system, right? So like your blueprint is part of that. And so some of these medical intuits will tap into your blueprint and they can see from your aura and your energy, they can physically see the imbalance. So, I mean, this kind of, and I feel like I'm slowly starting to get into it because you know how like your gifts just sort of open up randomly. Like it happened the other day where I was working on a client and her auric field was just like really weird. And there was like this weird cloudy gray, like green color. And like instantly I was like, oh, she smoked. This is all residual smoking stuff. And after I was done, I was like, you used to be a smoker, huh? And she was like 15 years. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I could see it in her aura. And so it was weird though, because that never happened to me before. So I feel like it's getting there, but does that help clarify?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you can see how like close the tie is too. So it's funny because when we were talking about the terminology yesterday, even I was like, I don't know that we like, there's like a specific certification or a title for it, but because when you work with energy, like just things just do open up depending on who you're working with and what you're working on. And what I think is so cool about the way that you work is that you have so much knowledge about the body and where the organs are just from your other, massage therapy work and all that stuff that you're able to like zoom in so specifically and match that frequency, where I also feel like, back to your question about Reiki, it's sort of like rather than matching the frequency of a specific organ or a specific body part, it's like you're just sending high frequency Reiki energy into the body, and then like the higher frequencies dissolve the lower frequencies to open up those energy channels. So it's not as much, it's not, I don't want to say like anything that's like polarizing, but it's not as specific, it's like you're just kind of like flooding the system with this super high frequency energy that goes where it needs to go to dissolve and transmute those blocks, versus something that's like much more sort of intentional and like focused in.
That makes a lot of sense to me, because it's almost like I know that it's all intelligent energy anyway. So in Reiki, you're kind of trusting the Reiki energy to find the nooks and crannies that it needs to go into to clear out.
But Reiki energy is very smart, so it will go where it needs to go.
Right. Yeah. Oh, okay. This is super fascinating. Do you ever have clients who come in for, massage basically? And I mean, I know Sam is probably an example of this. And you just feel so called to do energy work on them because it's just like vibrating in you.
Sometimes, yes. And sometimes no, because I keep my massage and my energy work very, very separate a lot of the times, because let's be real, most people that come in for like deep tissue massage don't want the hoo boo boo. Most of my clients know me well enough now that they're like, just do whatever you want. I'm like, okay, I may just stop touching you, or I may just like stop massaging and just hold on to you at certain points because certain things need to be moved. But what I've found is that I just kind of like mention things to some of them and they're like, oh, that sounds cool, we should try it. Right. And so then I've kind of done it that way, where like I have one client, I was just doing body work and he's got some nervous issues where his brain and the way it talks to the muscles sometimes just doesn't function properly. And so I've been working with him on like a physical level for a really long time. But lately I started doing energy work with him, and his whole body will go through like this crazy, weird, like contorting and releasing and contorting and releasing as I'm doing energy work on him, because it's so connected to his neuromuscular system. Wow. So I have found that certain people, like, yes, 1000%. And then I usually will just be like, hey, I do this thing. You may think it's crazy, but I think it might help you. So, and a lot of times I'll just be like, after we're done with the massage, do you have an extra 15 minutes? I'll just do it for free. I just want you to see how you feel. And then most of the time they're like, holy crap. And then after that, they're like, just do whatever you want. Here's the time. Just do whatever you want to me. So.
Yeah. I mean, and I even remember when I came in to see you for that massage, it was like, I had this crazy knot that was like fucking up my left shoulders. And you had gone over and started like massaging my shoulder, and you were like, whoop, I can't touch that right now. And you like jumped down to my hips, and you were like, because you can feel the energy on like the person's body. It's like if something is resisting, that means that something else needs to be adjusted first.
For sure. I have one client that she calls me her Ouija board. She's like, how do you know where to go? And I was like, they tell me, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, and that's so medically intuitive in the sense that, when I'm working on people's bodies and they're like, oh, this hurts, that hurts. If I start working in a place that's not going to help them, I get this really weird feeling like, I don't want to work anymore. I don't want to be here. I gotta go. This is stupid. And I'm like, whoa, it's 10 a.m. You literally just started working today. You should not be feeling this way. And then like, I'll move over to a different place and then I'll just be like meditating, visualizing muscles. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is where I should be. And so like, I get this feeling of like, that's not right. Like, this is stupid. So I just kind of learned that like, just to kind of like follow where I feel like my hands, it's kind of like Reiki, you know, you like sometimes just go where your hands go. So when I'm working on people physically, like a lot of times will do that. And my clients are always like, oh, your hands get so hot. They're like little heating pads. And I'm like, oh, it's because you needed some energy work. And your subconscious was like, hey, subconscious, I know you know how to do this. Give me some of that stuff. And then all of a sudden my hands will kind of turn on like unknowingly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that kind of is fun because people are like, oh, what is that? And I'm like, that's energy work.
I mean, is that okay? This is probably veering into like probably legality issues, but like, I guess like listening to the way both of y'all are talking and the way it's working, I'm kind of imagining that like, if you're giving somebody a massage, maybe it's because it's hard for me to untangle the physical body from the energetic body, you know? And I'm curious, like, as you are doing body work, are your hands activated already because you're already a channel for that energy? You know what I mean? Like, and does it just automatically almost factor into your body work?
Sometimes it does. Like I said, I try to keep everything very, very separate because when I'm working on body work, I'm working on body work. And for me, it's more of I have a very hard time concentrating when I'm doing energy work because I channel so much that if I was trying to do it while body work, I'd probably rub your shoulder for like 40 minutes. And like, it would just be weird because you'd be like, what are you doing? Like, I'm talking to your grandma. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm sorry, I keep touching this one spot, but I'm trying to do some other things in my brain. So I try to keep them as separate as possible, but sometimes the body's like, no, you can't do that. Like, I need energy work. And so it kind of like calls me to do it. But our bodies are energetic. I mean, our hearts and our brains work on electromagnetic frequencies. So even though they're solid and they're physical, they're still energetic. And so it's not that they're separate from our energetic being. They're just vibrating at a slower pattern that they're physical. So if you think about it in that sense, that it's just a slower vibratory pattern, as opposed to a higher vibratory pattern, that it's all one unit.
Okay. That makes
you know what I mean? Sense. So like in essence, by working on someone's physical body, you are working on their energetic body as well. And like, I've also noticed too, like what my work is kind of been morphing into is I've been doing a lot of trauma release because a lot of people will have trauma, whether it's something from a belief system that, you know, your mom yelled at you for singing too much when you were a kid, so you shut your throat chakra off, or, you know, you had a death in your family, or like some kind of big traumatic something, or it was like a physical trauma. All of these things kind of get stored in our body by like having strange energy statements, right? So the energetic component of that trauma gets chaotic, and then it stays in your body, or we stick it in our body, right? Like people who ignore stuff and they're just like, I'm not going to deal with that. So they push their emotions into their muscle system. So then you have an energetic imbalance in your physical body, which is again, still your energetic body. But so you can get like energy balls and like of chaos basically stored throughout your body as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can kind of find those a lot of times because I can feel the dissonance, or like the resonance,
the dissonant frequencies, they like
chaotic in the muscle tissue, right? And so I'm like, oh, what is this? And people are like, oh, it's a knot. No, it's not a knot. There's something underneath here that's connected to something else. You know what I mean? And, and usually it pulls up, you know, all kinds of weird stuff for the person on the table. They're like, oh, I was just thinking about this thing that happened 20 years ago. And it's like, oh, I wonder why, because I'm releasing this weird trauma that you stuck here, you know? So there's a lot to it, but
yeah.
No, I mean, it's so cool because I remember the first session I ever did on you. I was working up around your heart chakra. And once I got in there, it was like, you had that little energetic cyst.
Yeah.
And it's crazy too, because it's like the more energy work that you do and the more you come across these things, it's like the more attuned you are to being able to heal them. So you'll come across them more and more. And it's like, ever since that session, it's like, I think every time I do a session on a client, I'm like uncovering all these crazy cysts that have just been sort of like buried, like little polyps in the body.
Once you become aware, you cannot become unaware.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that like anytime you work with somebody who is an energy healer and they do, I'm not going to say better or, you know, the different things than you do, right? So like everyone has their own types of gifts. So like if you're, you know, very clairvoyant or very clairaudient and you're around somebody who is clairsentient, you'll start to feel very clairsentient in that person's presence because of the way that your energies raise each other's up, and they'll start feeling more clairaudient or clairvoyant when they're around you, because you guys kind of help push each other's energy frequencies higher. So you kind of start to feel what those other people feel when you're around them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it kind of like gives you a little kickstart boost, right? And then you usually will learn something. And if it's one of your gifts as well, that can kind of open one of those things up for you. And then all of a sudden now you're like, oh, here's another gift I can tap into and start honing. Mm-hmm. And then the more you hone it, you'll meet more people that do things that are on a different level than that, right? And then you're like, oh, it goes there? Cool, you know?
Yeah, I always love the synchronicities of things, because it's like sometimes when I'm working on someone's chakra, like I'll see the chakras look like, instead of looking like vortices, I'll see them as like solar systems. They look like solar systems that are spinning around. And then the first time, Jamie, that you said that you were seeing mine as a solar system, I was like, no shit, that's so cool. I see that too.
Yeah, and it's funny because I never saw vortices or ever worked on vortices until you worked on me. Same thing with the earth chakra or something crazy. Like all of a sudden after that one session, I've been doing it. I'm like, all these people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Your polarity was reversed. So I had to this was the craziest session because I had never done anything like this before, which is why I always feel like, especially if you're into energy work and you're learning about energy work, it's so important to find people that you can practice with, because
100%,
like you have the ability to sort of like open up and trust that space and explore more together. And so Jamie's polarity was reversed, and I had never done this, but I was like, I have to like step into your soul star chakra and like twist it around and like realign everything. And I totally forgot about that. That was such a rad session.
Wow. That's super cool. And you're basically just being guided, right? It's like, like I'm feeling like I need to do this, and just listening to almost like the instruction of your guides to kind of the process of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But sometimes when I'm working, like I'll be like sitting on someone's head and I'll like holding their head, and I'll literally see my hands in a different position. And I'll be like, yeah, we'll get there. And then they'll show it to me and I'll see it like 12 more times in a row until I finally move my hands. I'm like, what? I will put them there. Like, if they want you to do something, they make sure you know you need to do it, right? So like they're not very subtle a lot of times.
And sometimes like I'll get a little bit impatient, like especially if I'm only working with Reiki, because of the way that Reiki does work. It's sort of like you just send the frequency in to dissolve and transmute. It's not like as active. So like when I'm, if I set the intention to be very specific to only work with Reiki frequencies, it's like I like get kind of impatient sometimes, and I'll go to like move my hands, but like moving them, I get these like physical pains. Like I'll get pricked like around my wrist or the back of my hand or something. And it's like the energy is like, no, you're not done here yet.
Or you feel like you're glued, or you feel like you move your hand and it like won't move, and you're like, okay, well, we won't do that. I do want to like sort of disagree with you with the Reiki. Like, yeah, I believe that it is very open and whatever, but I believe that it can be very intentional, and that's why we have
that's true.
So, I mean, I feel like, it can be very general, but I feel like it can also be very, very specific, because honestly, when I started working with organs, I was only doing Reiki.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know if that's just because it was one of my gifts and it was starting to come out. And that's why I started taking the visceral classes, was because I wanted to know more about the organ system, and how like the energy of the organs affects the body. Right. Mm-hmm. But I feel like with Reiki, it's kind of like with anything, you're not going to teach guitar to somebody if you don't play guitar yourself. Like, so obviously, like the more you do it, the more it opens and expands. And so like, I only did Reiki for about 8 years. I did no other energy modality because I really wanted to make sure I knew my craft before I started teaching it. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time just working with Reiki energy, and I feel like it can become a lot of things. So at first, it is very general. It's very knowledgeable, but I feel like it can definitely be morphed into something way more intense and pinpointed.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I guess in my mind, I was thinking about it in like the very traditional sense of like there are specific hand placements, and then you sort of like you go through them in a specific order.
Yeah.
But then to Jamie's point, it's like, everybody's connection to the energy is totally different. And so it's like, if you have a good teacher, in my opinion, your teacher will encourage you to explore your own connection with the energy, and you'll learn how to flow with it and to get in there deeper. So yeah, you're totally right.
I feel like it's a little watered down too recently, because everybody's like Reiki, it's mainstream, and then like you're gonna become a Reiki master in a weekend. So I mean, I feel like there's a lot of like stigma and kind of like weirdness around the idea of Reiki too. So I feel like we kind of need to change that, so people aren't like, it's the hooba boo boo. It's actually physics.
Yeah, I know.
Very science based. So
yeah, and that's an important thing, I think, to mention too, is like what I really loved about when we started working together was that like we could go and explore into these other places and like learn different things from each other, but we also both had a very like, we both learned in a very specific way that was very much like a one-on-one mentorship that went, spanned years. It didn't end in like a 3-day workshop.
For sure.
Yeah. And that makes a huge difference too, because it's like you need time to, first of all, for your gifts to develop, and you also need time to be in inquiry with your experience with the energy, and to learn, because you're going to get tested. Like your guides are going to test you, and they're going to send you shit that you're like, whoa.
I mean, you don't learn anything and then all of a sudden you're a master at it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Here's how to play 3 chords on your guitar. Great. You're now a master guitarist. Like, that's not how it works.
I can still play Fur Elise, but don't ask me to sit down and play the piano.
Yeah, exactly. So of course, like you start learning Reiki and like, oh, okay, I can put my hands in the positions and I can just hold them there and do what I'm doing, but then after a while, like say 3-4 years, now you're like, oh, if I put my hand through this layer and it feels this way, oh, this person had a death in their family. Okay, this is what that is. Okay, I feel that this layer is connected to this chakra. Oh, okay, so you're doing this to yourself. This isn't something that's happening from your outside, right? You're creating this imbalance, or this imbalance is coming from outside of you. So I think this is a work thing. Like, so you start to like really understand how the human body energy is all connected, and you start to have a dictionary of different feelings and qualities, and you start connecting different pieces of like, oh, okay, your auric layer is wonky up by your head, but not by your feet. And it's only wonky in the layer that's connected to your heart. Oh, you have these things going on. Okay, maybe it's because of XYZ, right? So you can kind of start to like go into the person's life and figure out that person and their whole energetic system on a whole, and be like, okay, this is where this is coming from. This is how it is. This is why it's happening. Does this make sense? And most of the time people are like, oh yeah. And this is why it's now becoming a physical problem.
I mean, what you guys are describing, I think it's like really everything in life, right? It's a relationship. You're building 100%. A relationship and a trust with this being, which is the Reiki energy. And I feel like, I'm curious, like why you would choose to only work with Reiki, or choose to only work with a particular form of energy. Like, why not work with it all the time?
I guess I'm a little bit confused by your question. You mean like why not use it like during like massages, or
no, as in like, I think like Sam, you had said something about like there's times where you only like want to work with the Reiki energy and that's it, and there's times where you don't want to work with it, or it's like you're not, it just sounds like there's a choice being made whether or not to use it, or to work with the Reiki energy, or not to work with the Reiki energy and choose a different form of energy to work with.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't have that. I just turn myself on and I channel, and I always start with my, my Reiki energy, allowing it in, and using the universal life force energy, which is the Reiki energy. And everything, once I open myself up to that, basically things just kind of happen. So, I mean, my intention's always been with Reiki because that's my foundation. So I believe that, every person has their own gifts and their own way of training. And it's kind of like whatever works for you is what I tell everybody. If this is how you do it, then do it the way you do it. And if you feel like in a session that you need to shut that off and do something else, then I mean, I'm all for intuition and, listening to your guides.
Yeah. And so for me, Ella, I think it's a little bit because of sort of my journey, and just, I when I very first started working with Reiki energy, like looking back now, I'm pretty sure I just untethered my grounding cord, but like I had this like crazy experience, and I unlocked all of these frequencies that were definitely not Reiki, but I was so new into learning to work with Reiki, and I had just sort of like stumbled into this out of, lack of experience on like a session that I was doing on myself. And that's when I started working with Pagan, and so my journey was a little bit different. Instead of like only doing Reiki for the beginning part, like I had sort of like opened up all of these other channels and frequencies, and I needed to be able to discern the difference between the two as I was learning them, and not between the two, between the many actually. But like, for example, when we have one of our healing moon circles and everybody comes and they're intentionally there to receive, to do a breathwork session and to go on a shamanic journey and to receive distance Reiki, like I open up the Reiki channels and I stay very close to those Reiki channels, especially because it's like a group setting and this is like what the intention has been set for. Versus like if I'm working with a client individually, then it's a lot more like when I work with Jamie, it's like I just open up the channels. I start with Reiki and then I let the rest of the energies flow in and it goes where it needs to go.
The other thing I've noticed about Reiki, and I'm going to cut you off, but is that Reiki is a very replenishing energy. So when you're working with Reiki energy, you're healing yourself at the same time, no matter what. So I feel like a lot of people who have a hard time kind of separating themselves when they do energy work and they give away their own energy, I feel like Reiki is a good like way to kind of like not let that happen. So
it kind of protects you almost.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like you have to fill your cup up first. So if you imagine like the universal life force energy being like the water coming out of the teapot and you're the teacup, right? So your cup gets filled first. And then once that overflows, it goes into the saucer, which is your client. And then once it overflows, it goes then into the ground or the earth, right? So you have to be full before you can kind of pass that energy on.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Because you're a conduit, so it fills you first, right?
Right. Okay. That does make a lot of sense. It's interesting because it's like, as I'm listening to this, there's been moments where I've unintendedly opened up my Reiki channels. I think it happened when I was doing a Vipassana silent retreat, and I just felt it kind of activating, which they actually ended up telling me can happen in those types of settings. But I haven't really been working with Reiki all that much. I work much more with like earth energy because of the journey work that I do. So it's interesting to me that there's like, when it comes to energy therapy as a whole, that there is kind of this intention to work with a very specific kind of energy versus just allowing all the supportive energy to come through and work with you how you need to be worked with.
Yeah, the Reiki energy is really just universal life force energy, which is everywhere and abundant. So you're just kind of tapping into that, you know what I mean? And it's so I don't like to say it's Reiki energy specifically. It's the energy. It is all of the energy. So it's not like you're just like, oh, I'm tapping into Reiki specifically. It's just the modality of weight. The reason Reiki is different than anything else is that in order to access the energy, you have to become attuned. And that's really the only difference between Reiki and anything else, and is so that you basically get an attunement so that you can actually hold or harness that vibratory pattern. If you're just a physical body who goes to work every day and goes to sleep every day and lives in this weird little box, you're probably not going to be able to harness any of that energy. Your body's going to go like, what is happening? So with you were in a silent retreat. So you were in a state of enlightenment almost, or your vibratory pattern was high enough that they attuned you for you. Obviously, if you were able to access that energy and activate it, it's because you got an attunement from that, if that makes sense. So your body was in a place where they're like, you can access this here. So it's really just like everything that is. So it's like, why take your own energy when you can just feed earth from the universe, right? Like, right. It's abundant and there's so much and there's more than we ever could use. So tap into the pool of source, right?
Yeah.
So it is all energy. I mean, I wouldn't consider it being like Reiki is specific to Reiki. It's a different way of learning, really. But even with earth energy, you're doing the same thing. But I feel like Gaia is more of a being, right? And so we're tapping into her energy as a being's energy, as opposed to, I mean, she's very energetic as well, but I feel like she's more of a being as opposed to a source, if that makes sense. So she needs energy love too, right? Because
absolutely,
yeah.
Which makes even more sense when you think about, because it's like, you know, the frequency on Gaia is shifting so much right now with all the energies that we have coming in. Like the Schumann resonance has been like crazy inconsistent, and like all of these CMEs and these other like energies coming into the atmosphere are like physically shifting the frequency of the earth itself, and and you can feel like she is alive, like she is changing and evolving just like we are. And like I actually am curious, Jamie, because like I was talking to somebody else the other day, and we were talking about grounding, and I think because of that, like ungrounding, like pulling out my grounding cord that I did so early on, like grounding for me has always been, I have to be a lot more intentional about it. But I would say that like definitely in the last couple of months, it's like when I go to ground in, I can feel the frequencies of the earth shifting. It's sort of like I can feel it like moving back and forth and like adjusting as I'm grounding. Do you ever get that feeling?
Yeah. But I mean, I hike and I backpack a lot. And so like I do Reiki for like on the earth all the time. And so like sometimes I'll just stop and hold onto a tree and like connect in and just be like, here's some love. Like, you know, and then you can totally feel a little bit of a shift for sure if you're connected 100%.
Yeah, I love that you do that. Like I started doing that ever since you told me about it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah,
It's so cool
because it comes out your eyes, you know what I mean? So like a lot of times if you have that intention, if you're walking around looking at things, you know what I mean? Like there's so much energy and I've got nothing to do with it. So let me be a conduit as I'm meditating anyway, right? Like give as much of it to the earth as possible because we just keep taking.
Yeah. I'm doing a mediumship class right now, and the way my teacher is kind of explaining it to our class is, you know, our first assignment really was just go talk to the trees, you know, that was kind of like the first thing. And you know, and from her perspective, she's like the energy that when you connect in, it's not just a one-way thing, it's a two-way thing. You're
100%.
already sharing your energy with the tree as well as receiving the energy too. So I didn't quite realize that, because I always thought it was like, I guess in my mind, I always, you know, logical human mind, it's like directional, you know, like I have to intend to send my energy to the tree. But she's like, no, as soon as you click in or connect in, it's a two-way street. You're already, it's, you know, you're sending your energy as much as they're, you know,
yeah, or just even being in their biofield, like, or, you know, your biofield and their biofield, or like, I don't know if trees have biofields, if that's what it's called, but the energetic field, you know what I mean? If you're in that energy field, like your energies are now kind of dancing with each other and they're interacting with each other, whether you're intending for it to or not, you know,
right.
like,
yeah, that's why forest bathing works.
Yeah. And that's why, like, when you walk by somebody, you're like, oh, I don't like that person, because you can feel the energy difference, you know, or you've got like, oh, I want to be your best friend. Like, it's because of that energetic feeling that you have when you're near them and your energies are kind of like, you know, mingling in a sense. So yeah, people probably think I'm crazy. Like whenever I go like wandering through any hike, like I'll be at Torrey Pines, just standing in the trail with my hand on the tree. Like, I totally kind of like start stretching so people don't think I'm like being a weirdo. Like, so like I'll like hold a quad stretch while I'm like giving a tree like an energy love, and I'm like, people think I'm nuts.
No, that's so funny. I like totally. The last hike I went on, I was like on my hands and knees the whole time, like smelling moss anywhere I could find it and like sending energy to the moss, and everybody was like, what is, like, I think people thought I had some sort of, you know, mental disorder.
Yeah. Like, no, I'm just hanging out with the buckwheat. Just don't worry about me. We're having a conversation. Like, what?
I do have a question too. Like Sam, I remember you bringing this up when you first started working with Pagan, and I wanted to get y'all's perspective now where you're sitting, you know, in your relationship with Reiki and your relationship with energy therapy. But I remember, Sam, you were saying that Pagan, his perspective on Reiki was that it was really almost elementary. Like it was,
yeah, I remember one, like, I think so Pagan, Jamie, I don't remember if I told you this or not, but Pagan is, well, I call him a shaman that I worked with in Los Angeles and was learning from, but he doesn't call himself a shaman. He calls himself like a spiritual traffic cop.
I said, we don't like titles.
Yeah, there's like no way, because it's like you can't put it in a box. There's no
No.
like tidy categorization for it. But yeah, it was when it was like my third session or something, and stuff was like getting really crazy and opening up really fast for me. And I was leaving that day, and I remember I was like, you know, it's just, I just was explaining to him, I was like, I just know that when I'm working with energy, that I'm not only working with Reiki, and I just want to be like really intentional and clear about like what I'm doing when, because it was so early on in my Reiki training too. And he looked at me and he goes, Reiki's for amateurs, but it's a good door in. And I was like, okay.
So I'm kind of going to say the opposite. So I have an energy worker that I work on who's in Mexico, and she's a shaman. She does a lot of earth healings. Like she heals like planets, and like she does like some very intense, like deep work. And then she ends up being sick for like months because of it. And we just literally started teaching her Reiki because of that. Because there's a lot of energy healers that don't know how to separate themselves, right? And so they end up giving away all of their energy, and there's no, like, they don't understand I'm a hollow bone and I'm just a conduit. They're more like, I need to help fix this, and they take it on. And so I find that learning Reiki, even if you're a very, very skilled and seasoned energy practitioner, it can sometimes help you to just really separate and to keep yourself whole. So that's like what I've been working on with her is, let's teach you energy work so you can really understand how that works and how you can be a conduit and how it's a separate situation, so that you're not using your own frequencies to try to do these things, because you're not going to last very long, because you only have so much chi, right? Like you can't give it all away because you'll be sick and you'll die. So you need to have that accessibility to source. And if you don't like realize the connection, I find that Reiki sometimes helps to bridge that gap, so that it's more of like, okay, this is not coming from me, this is coming from source. Right. And I don't need to use my own energy to do this, because I can do it much better if I use source, because there's abundant.
That's another, okay. So I'm starting to make the connections too. Cause I remember Sam, you were saying that, like, as I was working with a different, a quantum healer, she was teaching me how to just connect to source, and just go straight to the source. And I remember, Sam, you had asked Pagan about this too. And maybe this is just, it's a completely different perspective, but he was feeling like going straight to source was just too general. And so I was just like, okay, that's interesting to me. And I know everybody has their own relationship.
I can see that.
But yeah, I was just kind of curious, because to me, I'm like, well, everything is source. So why not just, connect in with source?
And it was interesting when that came up too, because we were talking about like clearing at night, like clearing your energy before you go to bed. And like, sort of like, putting up those like protective barriers so that, you're not susceptible while you're sleeping to picking things up. And, I think I had specifically asked him, it was about that, like the mantra that, you and I had talked about, that you had given me, Elle, that was like, source, original, prime, creator, please clear me of anything not within my vibration, protect me while I dream, let only the light of the city of lights, surround me in the dream world while I travel, or something like that. And Pagan, he was like, yeah, you can do that. He was like, it's really general though.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that in a sense, that it's super general, but it's also like, once you get to a point to understand how it works, you can then hone into other things.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, once you learn guitar, then you can start making up your own songs. So it's kind of like that. So like in general, yeah, you don't want to use your own, so you take it from source. But then after a while, like you realize like, oh, this person doesn't need source energy. They need angelic healing, or they need a specific galactic frequency, or they need a specific earth vibration. You know what I mean? And then like, once you've learned how source works and what it feels like and how to send it, you can then start to like morph and, tap into other energies. And then like, if you learn about different systems that have different energies that you can use, you can kind of go that route. You know what I mean? Like angelic healing is a way different energy than source energy is.
Yeah.
So I feel like once you get to a point of understanding how source works, you can tap into specific frequencies from other sources for sure. But it's more of this is abundant, and you shouldn't be taking your own energy. It should be coming from the abundant pool of, it's like, why would you get water from like the little lake in your backyard when you can just go to the ocean?
Right, exactly. I think the perspective that this quantum healer had was, they had the experience of imposters and feeling like even if they're calling upon the angelic realms, you don't really know exactly who you're getting. And so
yes. And that's where intention comes in.
Right. For her, she was like, I just go straight to source. And, that for her, she felt like that kind of covered it, but I think that was a reason why.
I find that can also happen too, depending on your vibratory pattern. So if like your vibratory pattern's pretty low, you're going to be way more apt to get randos popping in, you know what I mean? Because they're vibrating at a lower frequency than you are. But if you're, in a very clear, high meditative state, you've been eating really clean, you haven't been smoking or drinking, and your physical and your energetic frequency is very high, like you won't even, it's impossible for them to even like infiltrate your sessions, right? Because it's just too high of a frequency for them to even acknowledge.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But I also think this brings up a really good point too, where it's like, if you're working with energy and like at some point in your journey with like exploring these gifts, like you're going to get tested.
Oh yeah.
You're going to find situations where like maybe you inadvertently pick up an attachment, or
100%.
Yeah, you do come across an imposter, and it's like, sometimes can be, your guides coming in just to like make sure that you're ready for whatever the next thing is that's going to start opening up for you. Or that you can recognize it because you're going to start seeing clients who might have that and they need it healed. Or, it's like all of these experiences are teaching experiences and opportunities to learn and expand your gifts and go deeper. So I think also like sometimes, especially when it comes to Reiki, it's like, oh, I got my certification in a weekend and I'm Reiki 2 certified, even though I've never done energy. I've hardly done it on myself, and I've never really like made a practice out of it. I'm going to start doing it on other people and like thinking that nothing can ever happen.
Oh, well, yeah, you can always, I mean, energy work is crazy, and intention is key, and you can definitely mess with somebody's field 1000%. And I totally believe that you can pick up imposters as healers. I mean, let's be real, we don't vibrate at like the highest resonance all the time. I mean, I had beer last night and had pizza, like I'm not vibrating very high right now, you know what I mean? But if I'm gonna be like doing a bunch of energy healings, I make sure that I prep myself so that I am in a place that doesn't happen, right? So it's really just being responsible as a healer and making sure that you're in a position to heal someone else in a level that's not going to allow those things, right? But of course, like it happens to all of us, and that's why you should have your own healers, because that's why me and Sam are like, hey, let's work on each other, because things have been happening, things have been crazy, and who knows what our energy systems look like at the moment. But you want to make sure that you're constantly like working on yourself and clearing all of those things so that you can give the best kind of energy healings to the people that need it from you. Because if you're sick and you're all chaotic, like you shouldn't heal people. It's not responsible of you as a practitioner to accidentally maybe share your lower junk or your entities or your ride-alongs or whatever it is with the people you're working on.
Totally. I think this is also why I'm currently enrolled in like a 1 year long, she's calling it an energy sovereignty program, but essentially it's a Reiki apprenticeship program.
Okay.
And we're not even talking about Reiki yet. We're not talking about symbol. We're not talking about any of that stuff yet. All we're doing right now is really learning how to connect with energy, connecting with Earth's first. And she's taking it really, really slow, but we're also taking the time to learn about ancestral wounds and the wounds of the land, and like learning about the indigenous cultures, particularly in Japan, and like the occupation and colonization of those like cultures
and where everything started. Yeah,
so that everybody that is part of this like cohort is working on basically ancestral healing, and really working on their connection to the land and really understanding what that connection is. And it's just something that like, I don't know how many people take that approach of like
Not
kind
many.
of doing the due diligence of like
Yeah.
clearing at that level before any of the, the techniques or whatever is actually like discussed, which I'm kind of appreciating.
That's really amazing. I mean, I'm not quite into that aspect of it when I teach my energy healings, but your first class, you're not getting symbols, you're getting history, you're getting basic stuff.
Yeah.
I'm explaining to you what the structures are, and then you have to go and do a lot of homework on yourself. And you have to prove to me that you understand what it feels like and how to heal your own self.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest part, is getting yourself into a place that you can actually access energy to help somebody else. Because if you're not in a place to do that, I'm not going to take you to your next level, because it's irresponsible for me to allow you to touch other people's energy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to do that. So until you fully understand how it works and how it affects you, then you shouldn't be working on other people. So this teacher is amazing that she's going even a step further into having you understand the connection between the earth and the energy and you, and how it works and how it's all connected lineage wise. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I appreciate your approach so much too, because, it's like I did one of those weekend courses, and yeah, you get thrown right in, and there's no way in hell I was going to practice on somebody after that. I was grateful to learn, and it was almost kind of like, I see it now as like, this was exactly where I needed to do this step, and kind of, because I did receive a lot, even through the attunements and through the experience of it, not enough to like actually practice, but it sort of opened up in me just even the smallest, it's almost like it pried open the door of energy therapy as like a modality in general. And I was like, okay, this is what it kind of can look like, or this is sort of like almost like a little teeny toe into that pool. And I do think that like, just even looking, pulling way back, my going forward into this like weekend thing and seeing how my energy shifted, like, I think it also like raised curiosity in you, Sam, like, okay, what is this thing? Like, this is really interesting, because I'm now witnessing my partner kind of, and there's something kind of different about her energy.
Even it can be a great stepping stone. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
No, not at all. Yeah. It is a great stepping stone, but it's also something that it's like, I don't feel like that is the way anybody should be trained. And, I know that it was a Japanese woman who started this whole kind of training thing, training format, but yeah, it just doesn't feel responsible,
and for you, it may not feel that way. And for somebody else, it may feel perfect, so yeah. I always say like, it's supposed to be the way that it is for everybody, but also like, you know who resonates with you and who doesn't. Like when I first moved here, I had a lady who was a Reiki master, and I was very apprehensive about doing my Reiki master training and being called a Reiki master. And I had all this homework, and I tried teaching. I had to write all these manuals, and it was just super overwhelming. And so I asked her, I was like, oh, how long have you been a Reiki master? How long have you been attuning people? Like, how do you do it? And she's like, oh, I just stand on the book. And I was like, what? And so she was like, because I'm sitting here trying to like figure out how I'm going to memorize how to write all these things, and how I'm going to memorize the whole thing, and how I'm going to do all this stuff. And she's like, oh, I just stand on the book. I was like, what book? And she's like, my master's book. And I was like,
I've never heard of that.
Your master gave you her book? Like, first off, whoa, that's crazy. And you just stand on it, and that's how this works? And she's like, yeah. And it just comes up through the book. And I was like, oh, okay. I called my mentor or my master that night, and I was like, oh my God, Robin, I need help. Like, what is going on? And she's like, Jamie, breathe. There's a reason you're there, right? Like, obviously, like, this is not how you were taught, but everybody was taught in their own way. Like, it's not bad, it's not good, it's different, and I was like, what is happening? So, yeah, and you feel it in your gut if it's not right. So just take everything with a grain of salt. You meet a Reiki master that's going to work with you, and they tell you that they were trained in less than 2 years, don't work with them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
I think that's such an important point. And you're right. It's like, I think the reminder that there is no right, there is no wrong. There's only just these, like, to me, that was like the best thing that I could have done at the time, did
And
it
I mean,
for me.
honestly, you could be a complete clairvoyant and already been doing Reiki since you were 4 and you didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
and all of a
just didn't
sudden
know
you
yet.
took a 2-day weekend class and it activated all your shit. And now you're like a full-on medium. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
every person is different. Every person's journey is different. So it doesn't mean that it's like not a great situation for some people. So like I always say, if you're going to like find a healer, just look at their credentials, like talk to them. Most people will talk to you unless they're like, you know, like crazy, super busy where they have like, you know, appointment scheduler and they're booked for months and months out. But most of the time, like if you have an energy worker, they'll talk to you, talk to them, see what kind of training do you have? How long have you been doing this? What modalities have you studied? Most of the time they'll give you a background or it's on their website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going down your journey and having all these experiences and seeing your gifts sort of open up. What is that one piece of wisdom that you kind of hang your hat on or that you really live by?
Just trust your gut. I mean, listen to that little voice in your head, man. It is always there and it is always on point. Like you can ignore it all you want, but it will help you get to where you need to go if you pay attention.
I love that. That's super, super powerful. And I think it's like, I've been seeing so many more classes being held now for like how to even tap into your intuition. And it's something I remember at the start of like 2019, about maybe not quite a year, but almost a year out from when Sam and I left our careers. That was like my main, like, I don't know, focus that whole entire year. Like, how the hell do I reconnect to my intuition? Because it's like I knew that I wasn't listening to my gut, or I wasn't able to like really trust it for whatever reason. It had been so disconnected.
Well, it's also really, really easy to just write it off. Like, oh, that's just a weird thought in my head.
Yeah, I still catch myself doing that sometimes.
Always. I'm going to tell you a funny story. I was leaving for a class. I was taking one of the visceral manipulation classes, and I was like, you need to take your eyeglass case or your eyeglass like screwdriver, the fixing little kit to fix eyeglasses. And it has like all the screws and the pads and all the things in it. And I was like, I don't need those. I only need the screwdriver. And they're like, take the kit. And I was like, no. And I like argued with them. I'm not even kidding you. Because I was like taking a carry-on. I'm like, there's no point in taking this. This is stupid. I'm not taking it. And then midway through the class, we were all over on the floor and like they were doing a demo of some sort. And I got up and I ran around the table and some guy left his glasses on the floor and I stepped on them.
Oh shit.
And basically it wasn't a big deal, but the screw popped out. I had it and I gave it to him. I handed it to him, but when he was messing with it, he dropped the screw and we couldn't find it. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta fucking be kidding me. And the next day I came down, he had like a paper clip in it. And I was like, I have to tell you a funny story. I was like, my guides were super adamant about me bringing my eyeglass case with my screws in it. And I yelled at them, told them I didn't need it. And now I understand why I needed to bring it. And I'm sorry. Like, full on argument. Like, I don't need that. So even I do it all the time. But the more you listen to it, the more they talk to you.
I mean, the mediumship class I'm taking and even like the mystery mentorship program I had done, like, you know, for the last year and a half, it has all been about like, just trust what you're receiving, just trust what you're receiving. And I get so baffled sometimes because I still question all the time. And the way I open up my one-on-one sessions, like my breathwork sessions with my clients, I always do a reading for them, like a tarot and an oracle reading that is sort of my own making. But before I open up the cards, I always connect in with their inner child and I just receive what they want to tell me. And this last reading I did this week, I couldn't understand why I was being shown a little girl next to Santa Claus and, you know, and she was holding this giraffe. Like I just couldn't, there was no meaning that was coming to me, you know? So I just wrote it down and I was just like, all right, you know, I sat with it for a little while, like really questioning, like, are you sure this is what you want to show me? And then when I revealed the content, or like when I told the person I was doing this reading for, she currently has a daughter who is in the hospital in rehab, like basically getting better, and she'll be fine, you know, but the elevator is a giraffe. And there was, she was meeting me outside and she's like, there's holiday decorations literally being erected right next to me, like Santa Claus stuff, you know? And I was like, this is bonkers, but I'm like, I'm taking it. And I, you know, it was just a reaffirmation for me. Like none of this information is ever bullshit, you know, like,
no, it's not. And no, most of the time, if you're like, hey, I keep seeing this, it makes no sense to me. Does this make sense to you? And they'll be like, 1000%.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's not yours, it's theirs.
Right.
Because that's happened to me during sessions. I'm like, I keep seeing this purple flower. I don't know what this is. And she's like, here, this is my whole backyard. And I was like, oh, well,
Wow.
obviously someone's trying to tell you something, or that they're trying to acknowledge that, you know, they know that you have these, right? So a lot of times it's their way of like connecting to the person, and they can't fully absorb it. So it goes through you.
Yeah. I think this is why I'm being guided to do this mediumship program, because all you're doing.
Yeah. And like I said, the more you do it, the more it's going to be easier, you know, like you're just going to understand more. Like I'm very clairaudient. So I hear a lot of stuff, and I have a really, really hard time because I talk in my head too. So it's like, oh, is that me or is it somebody else? But somebody once told me a long time ago that the voice in your head doesn't change volume. So when you're yelling or when you're whispering in your own head, the voice doesn't change sound quality, where source does.
Well, that's super interesting.
So like you can find little tiny things like that will also help you to kind of like understand like the difference. Or sometimes when you get those, you get a certain feeling with them, you know, or even ask your guides, be like, hey, I don't understand. I am human. Giant flags. Like I need runway like markers. I need you to like have flares. I need you to point me in the direction with 17 people. Like I'm dense. I'm a human, right? Like you have to help me out. And so ask for help, ask for clarity, ask for, you know, something to go along with it to help you, you know, really understand that it's not yours, or that it, you know what I mean? That it is like a channeling situation, or that it is coming from that place. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I think it's like, I've been in such the mode of receiving symbols through dreams, receiving symbols through shamanic journeys that require me to interpret. And so I think what what this mediumship class is teaching me is it's not about the interpretation.
Nope.
In fact, don't even try to interpret. That's not what you're there to do. You're just there to communicate what you're seeing.
Yeah, I find when I try to think about it, it goes away. Like sometimes people will say something and I'll be like, oh, like, for example, this one guy was like, Bob. And I was like, Robert? And he was like, why? I mean, I kind of mess with them sometimes too, because like I can feel certain people's energies. And like this one guy was like, Bob. And I'm like, Robert. He's like, no, Bob. And I'm like, Bobby? It's Bob. And like, so sometimes I'll do it just to make sure that I'm like, we're on the same page, right? But like sometimes like I'll just see something and like, that's it. Like if I start to be like, oh, does that mean this? Does that mean this? And I start to like go into my brain, I realize that my energy kind of just disconnects.
Yeah,
right?
It's like you dip. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it happens a lot with angel healings. It's like, nope. And then they'll just be like, shh, because it's like they can hear my brain, right? And so like, and then they'll just shut me out if I can't stop, right? Because it's distracting. And so it's like, no, you have to just receive. And when you get like, oh, a vision of an apple, cool, let it go. Just keep a note in it, you know? And then when you're done with your client, be like, hey, I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but I saw like a red delicious apple. And then when I was working on your throat, and then like, oh, I had one for breakfast, you know, or I'm a teacher, or, you know, like something like that. So you'll find that there'll be way more connections if you just acknowledge them and let it go.
Yeah. And a lot of times that happens to me in healings too, with like people's spirit guides, or like, especially animal spirits. Like, you know, I did a session the other day where like out of nowhere, I saw this like translucent, like fluorescent reflection of like this crazy jellyfish. And it was just like, I don't know what that jellyfish means, but you know, at the end of the session, I like tell the client, and it's like all the messages that align not only with that spirit animal, like super resonate with the experiences that they're going through, even if they have to like sometimes go back and sit with it later, or do some other like connecting to it afterwards, even if it doesn't mean something to them exactly in the moment.
Right.
Oh, for sure. And sometimes too, like I've been noticing, like I get a lot of trauma stuff. And so like I find a lot of things that people don't want you to know, you know, like I was working on a lady's face, and like, right, I had to go to her orbital bone, and I was like, I literally just saw a fist in a face, like a fist hitting a face. And I was like, no, and then I went right into my head, and I was like, oh, she must get hit by a cupboard. Maybe it was a ball. And it was like, stop trying to make your own picture out of what I'm showing you. Right. And then when we were done, I was like, I had to work in your face. You have this energetic stagnation right around your left eye. Were you ever punched in the face maliciously? And she's like, yeah, my ex broke my orbital bone. And I was like, oh, okay. So a lot of times too, you'll get traumatic information that people don't really want to tell you because it's in their energy field and you can find it. And then you'll see the actual action of what happened in that, like you'll almost like relive it in a sense sometimes, or at least this is what happens to me. But if you start to like make up stories, like again, you just completely disconnect and the healing stops sometimes. Right. But usually if you just are like, okay, that's what happened. It's a fist to the face. Cool, whatever. I'm done. I'm going to keep working on this. And then when you're done, you're like, hey, did this happen? Again, 90% of the time, they're like, yeah. Or, you know, and usually I'll be like, hey, you don't have to tell me about this, but this is what I got. And then usually I'll be like, does this make sense to you? You don't have to tell me anything, but does this make sense to you? And most of the time they're like, oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So just trust and just accept. And if you're confused, just be like, help, I'm confused.
I know. I've been asking the angels to like, I'm like, just like hit me as hard as you can with whatever, you know, the energy, because I need to feel like what you feel like. I just want to know you. And so whenever I ask them to strengthen it or make it more intense, they always do. But yeah, that's the only way I'm like really learning how to work with them.
It's time. It takes time and patience, you know. It's like with any kind of relationship with a human, with a dog, like you're not best friends all of a sudden. Like it takes time. You got to get to know each other. You got to understand like each other's quirks, you know, like they'll start to learn that they all have different personalities and they can get feisty and like, you know, same thing like with your pendulum. You ask your pendulum the same question 6 times, it stops working because it's like, F you, man. I've been through this already. What do you think I am, stupid?
Or there have even been days where like I've picked up a pendulum and gone to work with it and it's just like won't respond to anything. Like, and then finally when I'm like, you're not going to work with me today, are you? And it's like, nope.
or it'll move on to the next one. Or it'll assign itself something else. I'll be like, you're a Reiki pendulum. It's like, no, I'm not. Like, you were yesterday. Like, okay, you're a housing pendulum all of a sudden. Like, what the heck is this? Like, okay, you do.
I know. I think sometimes we forget that the unseen also has a sense of humor, and they also are, they need to be communicated back to as well. It's not like they're just these all-knowing sort of omniscient kind of, you know, beings. I think sometimes like the communication, as in like the actual conversation, needs to be had, and it's not just like a one-way thing. And I'm constantly reminding myself of that.
Also gratitude, you know, thank them. You know, it's not just a one-way street. Don't just take from them. Like they're here to help you, but you're also there to help them. Right. You know, so include them, like, hey, come on in. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I go, you know, to the casino, and you know, I have a couple of relatives that loved the casinos. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm like, we're here, let's have fun, you know, like, and I'll start channeling, and then, you know, like, you know, so like help them out on occasion, like when you're in nature, you know, like bring them in and like help them enjoy stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Jamie. This has been such a rad conversation.
I know. I've been so excited about this for so long. I can't wait to share it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. And I enjoyed this thoroughly.
Where can people find you if they want to do energy healing with you? And do you do distance?
Yes, I do distance healing. I actually have quite a few clients all over the country at the moment. So I like distance healing a lot because I feel like people who are in tune sometimes will feel it even more when they're not around me, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I have that experience too.
Yeah, some people do. Some people don't, but most people actually seem to. But I have an office just off of Park Boulevard, north of the zoo in Hillcrest. And I am all over the internet. So I'm on Yelp, I'm on Google, Facebook, Instagram. My new business name is called Holistic Unalome. And for those of you that don't know what that means, Unalome is the path to enlightenment. So it is a really awesome symbol that you could probably find online if you want to look at it, see what it looks like. But I have a website, which is www.holisticunalome.com. You can always just Google my name, Jamie Harb, Harb as in boy, and you'll find me on all kinds of platforms.
Yay. And we'll have that in the show notes for everybody too. Thank you. Thank you. This is awesome.
Thank
so
you.
Amazing.
Music for Woo New is composed by Adam Miller.